Hi, welcome to Artsy. My name's Carly, and today we're doing part 2 of our SONIA DELAUNAY textile pattern artwork. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take our designs and choose which one we are going to put onto our pencil case. So to do that, the first thing we need to do is examine the artworks that we created. So we need to ask ourselves questions. So we're looking at both artworks together and we're thinking about what do we like about each one? How do the lines flow? How do the shapes sit? Which one looks more balanced? Which one has nice contrast? And what do we like the most out of each of our designs? Then, once we decide the one that we think is going to sit best onto our pencil case, that's when we're going to transfer it. But remember, both designs are important because they're teaching us different skills about using line work and geometric pattern. Today we are focusing on the element of colour. SONIA DELAUNAY used bold, bright colours side by side to make her artwork look exciting and full of energy. Principle. We will focus on the principle of movement. SONIA DELAUNAY used a variety of round and square shapes and angled lines that make your eyes dance around her artwork. Okay, so I'm looking at both designs and I've decided I'm going to go with this one because I like the way that it has a point of focus and that it flows down into this geometric sort of triangle pattern, which looks really cool, and I think it'll look really good on our pencil case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit my artwork over to this side. I'm going to get my pencil case, and before I start anything, I'm going to actually tape it up with washi tape, so anything that's thin and easy to lift, just so I can get my design looking crisp and so that it sits in a nice rectangle shape and is not obstructed by the pencil case. So I'm just going to tape it up here. This will come off at the end. Just sit it on the edges of your pencil case. And if you're worried about your pencil case moving, you could even tape it further and tape it onto the table so that you can work with a solid stuck canvas. Okay, so the next step is to draw up the design. Now, don't worry if you don't get it exactly the same as what you had. It's just about using that picture as a guide. So take your ruler again. We're going to do exactly the same thing. You've got your little circle templates if you need them, and you're going to start with a pencil straight on the canvas and you're going to draw in those lines. Okay, so we've got our point of focus up in that corner and then we've got some lines coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this up. Okay, you can see from my design that I had to leave out a few elements because I ran short, and that's okay. It's just giving us the same style that we did our first one in. So now I'm going to follow along with my paint markers. Now, depending on what colors of paint markers you have to work with, you can either stick to what you've done, but I'd say you're going to have more pencil colors than you do paint markers. So you might have to mix it up a bit and just go with what you're working with. So I like to line it first. You can either do this with a ruler. The thing about the canvas is it's quite stiff, so it's easier to do straight lines on it without your paint marker wobbling all over the place. We're also going to line it at the end. So you just come through striping your paint marker. You might find it easy to do all similar colors at once. If you do use a ruler, just be careful that when you do your line, you lift the ruler up. If you pull it away, that's where you might run into trouble with your paint marker bleeding over the canvas. You can see that the dark ones bleed into the lighter ones. So you might like to do all the dark colors first and then come back and do the light colors. Or you might just be happy with them bleeding into each other. It might be an effect that you're going to go with. But yeah, that is one of the things about using these. You can do this with acrylic paint. You don't have to use paint markers. Acrylic paint works fine because you're not washing a pencil case. You should be fine just to use regular acrylic paint and a paintbrush. So what I've chosen to do is when it comes to doing the black circles, I'm using a Sharpie only because the paint marker bleeds as we've discussed. So a black paint marker will give you a sharper line that doesn't spread into the rest of your artwork. So that's why I am doing that here. You can use the white paint markers. They do go onto the canvas as well if you want, especially if you want to make it nice and contrasted. But yeah, this just makes it look like a clear pattern. Okay, so the last thing I need to do now is I'm going to go with my ruler and with my Sharpie, and I'm going to come through and just go over all of those lines so that my pattern really pops off the canvas. So use a ruler for this bit because you want your lines to be nice and sharp. Okay, and then the final part is the super fun part where we get to peel off our tape here and then we'll do a final outline. So I'm just going to peel that off around like that. And then I'm just going to finish it off with a nice crisp outline. My Sharpie again. Okay, so this is what our end result is with our Sonia Delaunay geometrical pattern. And I guess the last thing we have to do is see if it works. So I'm going to open up my pencil case. I'm going to put in a couple of markers. And I'm going to zip it up. And you know what? I think that's pretty cool. We made it ourselves. It's going to look fun at school. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. How are you? How'd you go? Would love to see what you came up with. Otherwise, we look forward to artsying with you soon.